coaching journey actually began in my youth. You know, when I was thinking about, I think I was always, I was a fourth born of five sons, boys. And I think I don't know, I think I had a nature, I was like an incurable optimist. With the chaos in our family, my father going through a difficult time in his life, I think I learned to check out and see the bright side in everything. I was just one of those kind of people, I would just, anyway, that was in me. So I had this sense of adventure. I had this sense of like wanting to see the bright side of things, wanting to explore. But I went through a season where, in my youth, I went through rebellion and all that stuff. And then I met a girl when I was 19, and she wasn't like the other girls that I knew. This one I'd actually want my parents to meet. He led me to the Lord. And when I was 19, and we ended up getting married when we were 20. And then fast forward, a few years later, we discovered we were pregnant. She was pregnant with twins, and one of the girls died, and the other one was born with multiple disabilities, which led me back spiraling into a kind of a darker place in my life again. Anyway, I had a friend that reached out to me. He was a minister, and he really helped me understand the nature of God more clearly, because I was told some horrible things about God, that God kept one of our babies for himself. And I was thinking, man, that's like giving a broken bicycle to a favorite son. It didn't make sense to me, And when this guy started to share with me that God was really good in his nature, that what we were told wasn't true, it led me on a path where my wife and I both ended up in Rhema Bible Training Center, sitting under Kenneth Hagin, Tulsa back in the day, Word of Faith movement. Wow. Anyway, that just set me on fire. Sat there for a couple of years, sitting under the Word of Faith and listening. And I realized that we were told misinformation about God, about ourselves, and just about the nature of God. And so when we went back to our hometown, we were appointed youth pastors, and I still had a heart for youth because my own journey through rebellion and that sort of stuff. So I was a youth pastor. We had a revival break out in our church. We ended up getting the left foot of fellowship out of that church, if you know what I'm saying. Elders weren't ready for us. So when we ended up starting a church in our hometown that just exploded in a revival. And it was just wonderful several years. The first few years, we grew quickly. We started we had a school of ministry. Within the first few years, we graduated 200 people out of that school in ministry that was doing outreach. So we were expanding. But then, several years into that, my focus shifted, and it shifted to more pastoral care. Just caregiving, counseling, that sort of thing. And I'll tell you, my passion for ministry and our growth in our church, everything flatlined. I mean, it sucked the joy out of me. My schedule was filled up with people that were processing emotional immaturity, how it was exploding in their homes. I look at my schedule, it was just counseling all day. My whole week was just counseling. And it was just like it was sucking my joy. And it was around about 15 years after we started the church that I needed a fresh perspective. And to get that fresh perspective, for some reason, I chose to work in a friend's coffee shop, and I became a barista. So I went to work in a friend's coffee shop. It was about a block away from the courthouse, county courthouse. And so the people that I was interacting with all day long were people that had stuff to do with the court. There were their attorneys, there were people in litigation, there were people, so I started a lot of conversations with people as a barista. And then I started to really listen deeply. What was going on? What's happening in people? Why are they ending up in these situations and everything? Anyway, during that time, I discovered coaching in there. Started listening to people. I could help. I could listen to what they were experiencing, and man, if they just would have chose differently, or if they would believe differently. I started to see all that, and I started pursuing some education around that. So, I became a certified as a coach, and I just fell in love with coaching. I took those principles back into our community, and all those people that were stuck, I started to reframe how I did, ministry with them. It wasn't the counseling, which looks backward. It was more the coaching, which creates solutions in the moment, but helps them create bridges to the future. I was realizing that we get stuck in a moment. We have a trauma, we have something going on. So our mind goes back and tries to always create a different outcome, and so we get stuck back there. And then our emotions swirl around that and get attached. And so there's a part of us that's always trying to fix it. So we stay stuck. And that's what counseling does. It helps you get, goes back there and helps you reconcile to those seasons of your life. Where coaching honors, it gives you a tip of the hat to the past to understand what happened, maybe not maybe delve into too much, but at least understand how it shaped you, how it shaped your perspective. So coaching helps you look more what's going on in the present and how you can build a bridge to the future. When I discovered that, I connected with my own destiny path, which I realized how stuck I had become in my ministry. And so then I realized that eventually I knew that the Lord was leading us out of that season. And that's when I realized I needed to make a personal change, because I saw how coaching changed things for me. And it kind of led me forward at that point. I had this aha moment where we can actually be intentional about how we fix the defeats in our life, to empower us in the defeats so we can actually move forward to create more intentional outcomes. I had a mentor coach named Rhonda through the company that I got certified with, and she became the first person that actually was a mentor coach. And it really was very interesting because she seemed so smart. I was like, no matter what I asked her, she seemed to have, but she didn't seem stressed about anything, with that. But what I realized now in looking back is all she was doing is taking my words and just sort of reframing how I was seeing things. And it seemed so empowering. But she was probably the first person that helped me understand coaching. But I didn't, other than having, football coach, cross country coach, people, those coaches, I thought, well, if coaching can help make you successful on the playing field, maybe life coaching can make you successful in the playing field of whatever arena you need to show up in, whether it's your family, your business, your ministry, whatever it is. It's all playing field. So how can we sharpen ourselves to show up to the game, at our best, optimal performance? And so that's what coaching, was able to do for me. And what one of the breakthrough moments that when I started to set up the certification course, I had a friend. She was she's actually a student in the school ministry, and she was Russian. And when I first started meeting with her, I was helping her understand American culture, U.S. culture. Because she had a lot of things that she didn't understand about American culture. Anyway, so I start meeting with her, start coaching her. And then she asked me, she said, would you be interested in meeting with my father? And he lived, I think, more up your way. And he was a former bishop over a lot of churches in Russia that for different reasons why he wasn't able to be there anymore. And he was in the States. So I said, yeah, I would be happy to meet with him. And he was kind of displaced from his calling. And I met him, and she says, the only problem is that he doesn't speak English, but I have somebody that'll interpret for you. And so I was trying to coach somebody that didn't speak the language. So what I did is I met with the translator, and I taught him some coaching principles. I said, because I'm going to ask you certain questions, and then you have to take those questions and work it into, you got to help him understand why you're asking him what you're asking him. So I had to do some training for him. And then I coach through him to this gentleman who ended up having some wonderful breakthroughs in his thinking.
That's great.
So as we were walking out of the coffee shop, the translator said, that was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had translating. He said, can you show me how to do coaching? I just did. He says, can you train me to do that? And at that moment, and that was like, there were several people had to ask that question. We're about doing other projects. And then the idea came that we should turn our attention from doing personal coaching to actually developing coaches who do the coaching. Created the curriculum, we put a strategy in place, and we just start building it from that point. I'm a hope junkie, and I think
Yeah.
that's what coaching does, is it fosters hope. Without hope,
Yeah.
there's no hope without a future. And I think what coaching does is it unlocks possibilities within people, because if they come into this and they're stuck and they see something that they define as an impossible situation, if you could reframe and help them see differently, untapped potential, and just different things you can help them see differently, when the hope comes back into their heart, the possibilities are limitless, really, what they could create with hope and a fresh perspective. So I think that right there is a passion for me.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So um, I think, when you said that, it reminded me of, the Olympics and the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Come on.
But the truth is that the agony of defeat is actually the creative space, isn't it?
That's really good. Yes, absolutely. Well
I
said.
mean, I mean,
Can I quote you?
yes, when you get to that space, I mean, they show up, they're experiencing most of the time the agony of defeat, and you're going, rubbing your hands together and saying, yes, we're at the perfect space here.
Yeah. It's so different because failure and defeat are different things. They're entirely different things. If you have a to fear a defeat is to surrender the victory. That's like giving up the victory before you actually had the fight, because the fear will keep you out of it. Defeat is nothing more than a learning experience. And if I can look at a defeat and I can own the defeat, and we own the defeat by taking responsibility for it. And if I own it, it doesn't own me. It doesn't keep me stuck. And so what I do is I lean into it and find out, learn from it. Think, why didn't that work? I had a desired outcome in mind, but it didn't work. So why not? And then then you go into it and this sort of reverse engineer the defeat, back up and find out what happened and why did you get that particular outcome, and then re-engineer it towards a more favorable outcome. Failure is when we give up, and as long as we never give up, we're really undefeatable, because we can always surrender something with honor, but doesn't mean you were defeated. That means you made a choice to not pursue a certain outcome again. That's not necessarily failure. And so that's where, and I like what you said about the defeat. It's a portal. A lot of people have come, seek out coaching because they can't find a good place to fit. They don't fit into a job. They didn't fit, maybe their relationships. And I think the reason it doesn't fit yet is because it hasn't been created yet. And so one of the reasons to pursue coaching is because you have untapped potential that hasn't been realized yet. And so coaching helps you reframe how you view yourself, how you view the opportunities that are in front of you. Coaching is very empowering. It helps you own your life and take responsibility for your life. Reframe the way you think. And if you connect with the way you think, how it empowers your emotions and it drives your behavior, and it can move you towards the desired outcomes. So coaching, and then for those that love the effects of coaching and how coaching helps them, Some people like to empower other people in the same way. And that's where I'd say, man, get certified, learn how to do it so you can help other people succeed. Potential. What I tell people, when they graduate from our course, so we could give you credentials to say that, but all the credentials are saying we believe in you. We saw what you put into, we saw your effort, we believe in you, but now it's up to you to put the credibility within the credential. Keep leaning into it, make yourself successful through continuing to self-coach and learn and keep growing into it. So yeah, I think it's super worth it to get certified. It's a confidence booster, but it's also saying that people believe in you.
That's great. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today at Solution Coaches. You know what we're doing at Solution Coaches? We're actually building community and changing lives one person at a time.
Beautiful.
Thanks.